Hey, everybody. I want to take a moment to dedicate this particular episode of the Guitar Knobs podcast to our newest Patreon patron, Gary Goodman, who signed up for our dedication level tier. Gary just returned to playing guitar after 25 years, which is a very long time, and I am sad that he hadn't played for that long, but am so glad that he's back to the guitar community.
Welcome back.
Yes,
Welcome
sir.
back.
And this is the cool part. So Gary's youngest son, Beckett. Hello, Beckett.
Hello, Beckett.
Hello.
He just started and wanted his dad to play along with him as he learned. How cool is that?
Nice.
I think
that's awesome.
That's just such a that's a great story. I love that. I'm really glad that he shared that with us. So, Gary, this episode is for you, my friend, and for Beckett. Thank you. And we hope you become a famous guitar player someday. And if you do, give us tickets to your show. Okay, buddy? Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Hey, it's me, Todd Novak. We are happy to have you listening along with our little show. Those crickets were for Jared because
Who?
Jared. Well, he quit. No, I'm just kidding.
my
I'm just kidding.
God.
He didn't quit. He was not able to hang out with us tonight. He has a previous engagement that he could not tear himself away from. But on the line, we do have
Eric Merrow.
Correctamundo. Tell him what you do, Eric.
Well, I make gear videos on the internet.
Yes, and pretty dang good ones, I might add.
Thank
You
you.
may have seen them on our Facebook group for sure, elsewhere on the internets, but kind of has, I think maybe your two MOs that you have, or modus operandi, or method of operation, are you kind of have the floating spots background. That's kind of like one of your deals. You also do a great job of pulling out the actual controls graphically and explaining them. So if you haven't seen him, if you're not familiar, take a little bit of time, unless you're driving, and check it out while you listen to the show. That'd be cool. So, hey, everybody, we just want to hit a couple quick things. We want to say thank you so much to Rode Microphones for sponsoring our show by giving us these amazing microphones that you were listening to our less than amazing voices on. We are
Speak for yourself.
grateful for them. They are all made out of Sydney, Australia, and they're awesome. Hey, by now, you have probably seen the video on Instagram, but I got a beautiful box of barefoot buttons delivered to my house, and they're bright orange, and they're amazing, and those are going to be the new reward for the $5 tier on our Patreon.
What
Very
would one
excited.
do with these bright orange buttons?
One might put them on your pedals. That's what they're for. So that in the dark you can't miss them. I use them for my gigging board, and it is super helpful. But also a lot of people at home play with their socks on for some reason without shoes. I don't know. It's a thing.
They can be useful for pedals with 2 foot switches, like side by side. So like
Yeah.
one's elevated and the other one's not.
Yes, you could absolutely do that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So anyways, if you have been thinking about joining our Patreon and haven't yet, there's a new reason to do so. We're also upping our package for the $1 tier, where previously it was just like, hey, you're going to get some guitar knob stickers. Well, I reached out to pretty much everybody I could think of and asked for some swag to put in for our $1 tier members. And we got a whole bunch of stickers and stuff. So for $1 a month, you're going to get an envelope full of more stuff. Make sure you visit our Patreon, patreon.com/
The Guitar Knobs.
The Guitar Knobs, exactly. Let's get on with the show, shall we? Tony, what's going on in your music world this week?
This week, wow. Well, playing a lot of catch up. And in addition, I've been helping a buddy of mine. He's going to be opening up a repair shop with some retail for guitars, and this week has been my contribution to the cause. Mm-hmm. So he, I think we'll have a really nice shop here in Columbus. More details to follow, hopefully before the end of April.
Awesome. Yes, he's a good dude, and he's a heck of a craftsman.
He is
with the guitars.
He is. Jared, what's up with you this week? Jared,
yeah, all right.
Jared,
he's taking a nap over there. So Eric, how about you? What's going on?
Well, this week actually is pretty exciting. I just finished up a parts guitar, a Jazzmaster that I was putting together from an MJT body and a Music Craft neck. My friend here in Oregon, Joe Parker Guitars, he makes guitars himself, but he helped me put it together because I didn't want to mess it up. But yeah, I got it back earlier this week, and I've been playing it nonstop.
Nice. What do you?
So what some of the details on your Jazzmaster? I mean, you said it's an MJT body color. Much, a lot of relicking, or?
So I wanted to recreate my dad's 64 Jazzmaster.
Ooh, cool.
And his is a 2-tone sunburst on the front and a 3-tone sunburst on the back.
Wow.
And I think that's because the red, the dye in the
oxidized.
Red. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So yeah, 2-tone on the front, 3-tone on the back. They did a little bit of light relicking on the back just because my dad's guitar only has the like a little bit of nicks on the back. I think the most unique thing about his guitar is it has binding around the neck, but it doesn't have the block inlays. It has dots.
Oh, so like a half.
So that would, I thought, well, it could be late 64, but I thought that was typical of 65.
And it might be.
Because I had a 66 that was like a mid 66 that had binding and block inlays. Mm-hmm. And I think like maybe late 64 through 65, it had the binding, but just with dots.
Now, is that a painted headstock or?
No, it's probably natural if it was on the
his is a natural headstock.
Okay. Yeah, because only the
custom
colors, which was, it wasn't so much custom as much as it was colored, but it was colored, which made it custom because they only came in the burst. Does that make that? I made sense right there. I did.
To someone, yes.
So what I'm saying by not custom color, they weren't like, oh no, we're going to come up with some crazy color. It was like, the custom colors were
DuPont car colors. Yeah.
Yeah. But they weren't, it wasn't like somebody was coming and going like, can you make me a fluorescent orange guitar or so much? It was just the fact that they were custom because they didn't come painted.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
Custom is one of those words that can mean a couple different things.
I know. I make just custom pick guards.
Right. Which are custom.
In some cases.
In most cases. In many cases.
In many cases.
Okay. Let's see. So that's cool. What you're just trying to make it true to that year? Are you doing anything else special with it? What's the pick guard look like?
So I actually I had emailed Tony a little while ago because I didn't know what the MJT package that I picked came with. So I didn't know if I was going to get a pick guard, but it's a tortoiseshell pick guard. Mm-hmm. And then I have a set of Brandon Wound pickups in it, which sound awesome. I had to go with the Mastery Vibrato because I can't get. I'm left-handed, so I can't get just a normal like replacement Fender one that's left-handed.
I see.
Yeah, those are difficult to find. So, but Mastery does make a lefty.
Yes, they did, or
that's
they do.
Cool.
Well, see now that makes sense because I have often wondered. I think in your videos, I'm like, is he left-handed, or is he playing it, or is it like just? He's in the video,
Ray's photographing a mirror.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
right.
I am left-handed, so it's all backwards.
That's interesting. So, you may have heard. I'm actually putting together a Partscaster 2 that is a Jag Schnasterd.
A Telemaster or a
Jazzcaster.
Yeah, that's really
How
cool.
far are you along with that?
I am not far at all. Because here's the thing. We're waiting on paint because my friend Chase Gullett's gonna be painting it. And we're actually gonna do it in milk paint.
Milk paint.
Which really doesn't matter other than it's just been cold. So it's been cold and wet, and that doesn't necessarily make for good
milk painting.
Any kind of painting out in the shop, unless you're in a
Is it a special flavor of milk, or is it just
it's a black milk?
Oh, chocolate milk.
Yep. A dark stout. Anyways, so let's see. For me, I have been playing the living bejeebers out of all the flipping new gear that I've gotten. I've been lucky enough to land some new pedals, and it's just been a heck of a good time doing it. The trick, though, is that I have been switching the order of my pedals far too much. I mean, maybe not too much. I shouldn't say too much. I've just been trying to find the right combination, because I got some fuzzes up front, but I also have some boosts, and I'm trying to do I do the boosty stuff up front, do the boosty stuff on the back? Some work better with others. So I think it's probably leading to an episode that we're going to cover, basically setting up your pedal board.
Oh, so I have a question real quick.
Yes, sir.
So like with your pedal order that you said you were trying different things out, you only mentioned fuzz. Are you just doing like distortion stuff? Are you trying different orders with like modulation and reverb or chorus or anything like that?
Yes. Okay. So most of the rearranging has come in the way of figuring out how different drives are reacting with each other. And by drives, I'm also saying boosts and boost standard drives and fuzzes. So think those. I won't name names. And but I also have 2 modulation pedals that I use, but I usually just kind of keep those towards the end, because that's what I know of them, to put them at the end. But then there's other ones that I'm like, they should go at the end. And I was like, wait a minute, why is that going at the end? They got an EQ thrown in there, a parametric EQ occasionally. It's just the whole thing's a tossed salad all the time. So
yeah. And especially with the EQ, like you can get drastically different results if you put it before drive pedals or after drive pedals.
Right.
Totally.
Right. So anyways, that'll be a show coming at you sometime soon. Hopefully soon, so that I can get my stuff figured out. It's what pedal boards, pedal boards are like golf. All right. Go with me here.
Do tell.
At no point, like if you're playing golf, anybody who's ever played golf, you can play golf for hours and hours and hours and days and days and days. And then one time you have a great day and you're like, I nailed it. And then the next time you go out and it's like you completely scrapped everything and you have to start over. You have a terrible day right after that. There's the mechanics of a golf swing are such that it is so difficult to consistently replicate. That is why most people keep chasing it. They keep chasing that good feeling when they hit that one. They're like, oh, that's how you do it. And then they do it wrong. And then they keep chasing it again. Right.
Sounds a lot like my guitar playing.
Yes. It's this stuff is very much like that, where you go like, yeah, that's it. And then you tweak something or you add a new pedal and the whole thing goes to pieces and you go, that may be just me. I don't know. I'm no pro. I don't know any of this stuff.
That is one exciting week.
Yeah, seriously, right? All right. Wait a minute. What's that? 1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor. All right, Eric, go for it. 4 on the floor.
Okay. Number 1 would have to be the full tone OCD. And I picked it mostly because it can be a good full range distortion sound or even a clean boost or something that you can just like alter your guitar's EQ with.
I'm finding people just encounter those constantly. They're like, yeah, I got an OCD. And we're like, man, that pedal's been around forever, right?
Yeah.
Is it something that you've just been familiar with for a really long time, or?
Yeah, exactly. So when I was playing out a couple years ago, that was the first pedal in my chain.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of like what I knew at that time. There are tons more pedals, but that's always my fallback one.
Sure. And it's built like a tank. It's really kind of neat how those are made. They're kind of unique still.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also crazy that they have so many different versions. So it's like they have like 1.1 all the way through like 7 or something, and now they're on version 2, I think.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think mine was like 1.4 maybe. I can't remember exactly.
I always thought they were just the same dang pedal. Look, I just learned something, everybody. That is great. So yours is probably all nice and beat up.
Yeah, actually, I don't have one anymore. A couple years back, when I was on tour in Philly, and we parked in the wrong spot, and overnight we had our car broken into, and that pedal was stolen along with other stuff.
So much for the city of brotherly love.
Yeah. Well, I guess that happens. But the good thing is those pedals are always the same price everywhere, seemingly. $75, $80. Like, never goes any cheaper, never goes any more. It's always the same price. So that's good. You can get a new one. What do you have for number 2?
Number 2 is the Fuzz Blast Furnace, which is it's one that I've made a video for, and it's just such a cool fuzz. It's really simple, straight to the point. It's a fuzz on one side and then a momentary delay on the other. It's got a tone switch in the middle that you can have it like more of a mid-scooped big muff type fuzz. And then if you can take the tone circuit out so you get all those mids back. It's just really, really great sounding.
Like, how heavy do you use that? Are you using it for like kind of moderate fuzz? Like, where are you on the fuzz factor?
So with the Blast Furnace, it really retains a lot of like your initial guitar characteristics. So it's a pretty heavy fuzz for sure. But I like the fact that you can sort of maybe go up to the neck pickup and then roll your volume all the way, or the tone, roll your tone all the way down. And then you can sort of make it sound like a synthesizer type thing, which is really cool. Odd use for it, but
that's a killer looking pedal too.
Yes.
They kind of went all out on that one. Yeah. This is really, really cool. And I'm one of those people, unlike our friend who's not here today, who likes, I like looking at the pedals. I like cool looking pedals. Don't hate me for it.
Well, I think that Jared might have not found a sparkly one, right?
Maybe not. Maybe that he just needs to find somebody that just does like super heavy flake sparkle pedals.
Yeah.
I mean, they're out there. So what do you got for number 3?
Number 3 is the TC Electronics Hall of Fame reverb. And I'd probably opt for the Mark II, the new version with the mash foot switch.
Cool.
It has a whole bunch of reverb sounds, and I generally lean towards like reverb as an effect more than an ambience type thing, where like if I hit a reverb, I want it to decay for a couple seconds rather than just make it sound like I'm in a small room.
Right, totally. And then, that's a pedal that I've owned in the past. I'm sure many of us out there who are listening have owned the Hall of Fame. It's one that you will probably cycle through in your reverb life at some point. It's sort of a reverb utility pedal, really. And by that, it has so many different settings in such a small box, and it's really, really well made. It's got the tone print on it, which is really cool because, you can actually dial in sounds that maybe some of your favorite players have made. So if you're like, oh, I really, really want to sound like so-and-so, it's like, man, they might actually have a tone print based on their sound already, and you can easily download that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, you can make your own too.
That's true.
I've tried it a little bit, but it's a little complicated. Not too complicated, but it's a little involved.
It is. So what do you have for number 4?
Number 4 is another TC pedal. It's the Flashback 2. I'd probably opt for the version 2 with the mash switch.
Explain the mash switch for people.
The mash switch is sort of like an expression pedal, but it's a normal foot switch. If you press it down, it turns the pedal on. But then they've added another function where you can hold down the switch and it can control a parameter. So like if you hold down, I think it's probably like as long as you hold it down for like a couple milliseconds, it'll start to increase maybe like the feedback or the decay on a reverb. And then it's actually pressure sensitive, so you can press down harder to make the parameter go higher.
Mash switch.
Yeah. That's I'm going to have to try one of those out because that does sound like kind of cool. It almost sounds like it's a bit of a ramping type situation.
Yeah, exactly. It's essentially you have like an expression pedal, but you don't actually have that expression pedal. It's just built into the switch.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
All right. And those are still really affordable pedals.
Yeah. You can find them like everywhere. And I picked the flashback because it's got a bunch of different delay modes, which is really cool, but it also has a looper mode, which I found very useful, especially for like video work if I want to compare two different pedals.
Oh yeah.
With the same exact thing.
I can assume that would be super handy for you. Excellent, man. I mean, you've got a lot of pedals at your behest, so those are pretty solid lineup. And if you are not familiar with our 4 on the Floor segment, and this is the first time you're listening, you can go to our website, theguitarknobs.com, and you'll see all of our past guests who have done 4 on the Floor. And we put together a little blog kind of a deal. Each of their pedals are on there, and you can read about them, you can see them, you can click on the links and go get your own. So check that out. That's also on our Facebooks and socials too. Okay, onward and onward. Eric Merrow is a gentleman who has been putting together pedal demo videos, I think, pretty heavily this past year. He'll probably jump in and correct me on dates in a second.
No, you were right.
Yeah. It's
about a year.
Yeah, just about a year. But you came on strong, and you were very present on in our personal world in the Guitar Knobs, and have been demoing a lot of friends of ours and past guests and guests when they were about to be on the show. So he's done a really fantastic job with his approach. There are loads and loads and loads of pedal demos out there on YouTube. If you do pedal demo, I mean, sit back, and if you got a year, you can get through them all. But doing them and doing them well are two different things. And he's one of a handful of people out there that I think are, really doing a great job. And that's not to say that everybody else isn't. I didn't say that. Why are you guys making me feel like I just said that? I didn't say that.
I don't know. I think we both heard it.
Yeah.
Or all three of us.
There are a lot of really good quality demos out there. And so for me, and Tony, I think, our interest in talking to you is you are spending a lot of time with pedal makers. You're getting your pick of what pedals to do. And I'm just curious to know, like, how that journey has come about, how you started doing that, where your interest in the pedals came from. And ultimately, like, what are you seeing as far as maybe pedal trends, and where you think that's going as you're doing all these demos and spending so much time with them? So go ahead and answer all those questions. I will be back. I'm going to go have some dinner. You just roll. I won't interrupt. No, we'll be sitting right here. So Eric, how'd this all start out, bud?
Well, I've been a musician for about 20 years or so, 15 to 20 years. Started on guitar, played in a bunch of bands when I was in high school. And then as it progressed, I got curious about how the guitar electronics work, how to record guitar, how to record a full band sort of thing. It just sort of grew. I was the person that people would come to, or my friend group would come to set up guitar, or say hey, my pedal's not working, or how do I get this sound out of a pedal, or what pedal should I get, or what guitar should I get?
All the things.
Yeah,
that was a little bit Tommy Boy right there. You could put candy bars and soda pop and ice cream. Yeah, it's anything you want to keep cold, Tommy.
I'm picturing the Luke, I am your father. Lola, Lola. Yeah.
So you became the guy.
Yeah. I think it was mostly just because I was the only one that was curious at how everything worked, and I just kept pushing myself to learn more about guitar and music in general, and especially the technical side of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you took your love of getting into the fiddly bits on.
That's
I like
that's a trademark. That one.
I think I have. Well, I'm sure somebody else has. You like getting in on all the interesting parts of pedals and guitars and stuff. So that's one thing, and that anybody who probably has an obsession about pedals, especially, has probably felt that same thing. Where it's like, what little thing makes this thing do that thing? And then why is that different from this other thing that does that thing? And that's a fascinating path of thought to have, and it can get you into some problems like spending too much time on Craigslist and Reverb and stuff.
It sounds like you speak from personal experience.
I'm asking for a friend. So I totally understand how you could start to really get involved in that. Now, I think the leap from where you are playing with pedals and maybe acquiring pedals into when you're actually saying, I'm going to now devote an inordinate amount of time to demoing pedals, because let me explain the inordinate part. For those who aren't familiar with how putting out pieces of media like demos or this podcast or video series, things that you're seeing on YouTube or the social networks, it is incredibly time consuming. And especially if you're trying really, really hard to make your craft good. And I think you're doing a pretty dang good job of that. So at what point did you decide, I'm going to do this? Great question.
It is very time consuming. After high school, I sort of went with like, I'm going to be a professional musician sort of thing. But after I realized that I wasn't going to be, I studied digital media and videography in specific. So I got I learned all about like how to produce videos.
I know that you do this for a living, right? Like video work, right?
Yes. I am a freelance video creator.
Okay, so when you're saying I decided to do my own thing, you're referencing your professional videography stuff.
Yeah, well, actually, it was more along the lines of like, I want to produce videos for music gear. Like, I want to get into that world.
Got it.
I looked for jobs, like openings, and then I couldn't find any. So I was like, well, I just need to start making videos for gear and introduce myself to all these different companies.
Gotcha. So, were there any videos that you were checking out? Any people that you'd been following that maybe you've decided to model your thing after? Or
yeah, absolutely. So I've been subscribed to like all the big gear channels, like Andy now with Reverb, Living Room Gear Demos, Knobs, like all those people. And I consumed a lot of those videos. Like I was the audience that they were going for. Mm-hmm. So when I started to do my videos, I wanted to sort of capture the same like information that those people were providing, but I wanted to convey it in maybe a different way in my own voice, I guess. Mm-hmm. While I was consuming all that stuff and I was definitely influenced by it, I didn't really want to do the same thing. I wanted to sort of stand out. And I think that's where my video education came into play. Mm-hmm. And like how I light things and how I move the camera. It sort of helped me create my own voice.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's something that, I noticed. I pay attention to an awful lot out in the landscape, and you can kind of, in what I do for a living is not too far off from what you're doing just in the digital creative world. And oftentimes what we have to do is, if we're working with a client or something, we basically create a map of their world and figure out where, their competition is, and figure out what, where they fit, where they want to be. Are those two things the same thing? So it sounds like, you're kind of doing that same thing to a certain degree. It's often challenging when you are trying to do something, and I can only assume for pedal builders out there and guitar builders, maybe even more so guitar builders, if you decide, I'm going to do this, and you say, and I'm going to make it different, at a certain point, you're going to hit a crux where that different may not be so different. And then you have to then figure out a differentiation point And at that point, are you making it different for different sake? Is that good? Is that bad? I mean, it's a huge creative challenge. And I think it's not one that is maybe as obvious for what you're doing as it might be for like, pedals and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And even saying that, like from when I started, my vision was to show the audience a certain piece of gear in the context of like a full song. And that was all my idea was. And then, so like over time I've sort of expanded, like sometimes I'll do that song, I'll write a song, and then I'll sort of elaborate on what I found useful in that, let's say, pedal. And then sometimes I'll just do a straight like walkthrough where I just let the viewer know this is what the pedal does.
Yeah, well, it's good to keep it open too, because you can't box yourself in too tight, because not every pedal is going to be able to sustain a full song or something. Even Andy, I think, runs into some situations. And now he's dragging out a bass and he's got two other guitars. He's like trying to make something out of something here.
Yeah.
Or maybe
absolutely.
there's too much. It's like, how do you narrow that down into just like, hey, here's a guitar lick, and that can't possibly show all that pedal can do.
I think, and to that point, I think it's great that there are so many people doing videos for maybe the same pedal. So like the viewer can watch all of them and maybe see a different take on the same thing from I don't know, 5-10 different people.
Absolutely. I tend to think that the more choices that we have, it's not choices because we don't like this other thing so much that it doesn't count. It's like, we can just have all the flavors, and we're going to learn something from just about anybody that's doing anything. And so if we have more choices to choose from, it helps color our world more, helps us be smarter. And the more people are doing things, I remember when we first started this show and I reached out to several people that were also doing podcasts, and I said, hey, we're doing this thing. And I was just excited because I was like, hey, I'm playing on your playground now, right? And I did that, and I actually really expected most people just to kind of like bat me away, like, yeah, get out of here, kid, But overwhelmingly, people were like, hey, the more people are talking about this, the more people are going to want to talk about it. So that's good, right? And people have talked about, oh, there's so many pedals, That's good. That's good. That means that we all actually care because we're sustaining that growth. That means that there's an appetite for it. That also means that there's more conversation and more community around that's building all of these things up when making it strong, which gives more opportunity for new voices to be heard. From your show, I'm sure that a couple of people will be inspired and say, hey, I like the way he did that. What if I did this? And then they're going to create their own channel, and there'll be another channel to watch that'll be, inspiring us and filling our days with guitar niceness.
Filling our internet rabbit holes with
exactly. Yes, exactly.
Which is great.
So how are you going about making the selections for these pedals?
Well,
and if it's some kind of secret sauce that all the demo guys are doing out there, I don't want you to have to, do the magician revealing his tricks or anything.
No, honestly, at the end of 2016, my girlfriend and I moved from Ohio to Oregon. I was unemployed. I had a lot of free time, so I was like, I need to do these demo videos to start this momentum growing, Mm-hmm. So what I did was I just emailed a bunch of different pedal companies. Just plain as that. I let them know, like, hey, I'm interested in doing video work for any of your pedals. If I can just borrow it for a little bit, I'll send it back. And then out of that initial email blast, one company responded, and it was Ryan from Fuzz Roches. And cool. He's been so great to my growth as a YouTube channel or a gear demoer. Mm-hmm. And to speak more about just the kindness in this community, I actually got to go to NAMM this past January, and I got to meet so many people from all these different pedal companies, and everyone was so nice, and like they were just excited to be there. They were excited to meet me, and like they don't even know who I am, but they were excited and nice to me. And it was
cool.
really cool.
Yeah. Are you planning on doing any of the other NAMM shows or displaying at some point?
So I went there with actually Paolo from the Deli magazine. He has a Stomp Box exhibit. Mm-hmm. So I was there with a bunch of other companies in his booth, and we set up a demo station.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we had a stationary demo set up, and then Paolo had orchestrated all these. I think the whole video count was like 91. So like upwards of like 80 plus pedal companies to come to the booth, film a demo for one or more of their pedals, and then I uploaded that to my channel.
Wow.
And that was really cool. Smart. Really stressful, but very cool.
I'll bet.
Yeah, and very rewarding. It was really, really good. We might do Summer NAMM. We haven't firmed up anything yet, but hopefully.
Well, let us know because we're heading down.
For sure. Are there certain pedals that you prefer demoing over others? And I don't mean brands. You don't have to, I won't make you go there. But, if you're like, oh, sweet, I get to do a fuzz or, a reverb or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty, what is it, effect agnostic, maybe? Mm-hmm. I like all sorts of stuff. The big thing that I try to do with my videos is be impartial, maybe, or like more objective than other people, maybe. I don't really want to impart my own opinion into the video directly. Mm-hmm. If there's something that's just not my thing, but I know what the pedal does, I know how someone else could use it, I still think that would be a valuable video.
Totally.
But as far as like a specific effect, I like those like odd ones, like the Excess from Old Blood Noise Endeavors. That was such an odd pedal. Like I plugged it in and I was like, what is this? And just stuff like that out of like left field, or like just unconventionally presented pedals, I guess. It was really, really cool to figure out. It's a little bit of like a challenge to figure it out, get a grasp on it, and then try to convey it into a way that someone can say, oh, well, I could use this for my playing, or
right.
Well, that doesn't have anything to do with me.
Yeah. Well, there's hopefully you've got a pretty fat roster of shows coming up, or I guess they're not shows. They're just hey, there's my world. Just demo videos that you're going to be doing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and absolutely. So I have my channel, which I produce videos like maybe like 5 to 10 minute length videos, and I usually write songs inspired by the pedals. So like I try to convey how the pedal sounds in the context of an actual song. And then after that, sometimes I'll go into like what I found useful out of the pedal. And then sometimes I'll just sort of do a short overview. And even on top of my channel, I'm actually working with Dave over at the Sound Parcel, and I'm doing their videos, which is really, really cool. Right. And it's been awesome because that's helped me get my hands on a lot of cool pedals.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's a good hookup to have for sure. Let's talk about your own like personal gear. What are you typically playing through these? Or do you have sort of a go-to, or are you using several guitars for different reasons?
So I wish I had my full collection, but since we moved out here to Oregon, I've got my Gibson SG, I've got a Collings SoCo, and both of those are humbucker guitars, and then I've got my new Jazzmaster that I was talking about. Mm-hmm. So the SG is a little bit higher output, the Collings is a little bit lower output, more clarity. It's just sort of like what I feel works for that. Mm-hmm. That certain pedal, but like back home, I've got a whole bunch of guitars. I got like a Strat, a D-Armin, which is really cool. It's like a hollow body. Mm-hmm. But out here, for my demo videos, I usually go into the pedal and then I'll go out to my Boss Katana, which is surprisingly really good sounding. And then that has just a record out that I can plug directly into my interface.
Right.
And that solves the fact that I can play silently, and it solves the fact that like I can talk while I'm playing or make any sort of noise and like nothing's going to bleed into my recordings.
Right. Yeah, it's tricky doing that. I noticed that you were using that Boss Katana. Like, I mean, it gets a lot of good press. People like that amp. It's a good amp for very specific things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I bought it just more as like a recording tool.
Right.
Something that helped me cut my noise to nothing.
Right.
So because I'm in an apartment, I can't make noise. If I had my way, I'd have a Marshall stack.
Right on. Are you getting the attention for this channel to where other brands are saying, oh, hey, here, you should use my cables, or you should use my pedal board, or you should use my, is that happening for you?
It's been slowly growing. The NAMM thing helped a lot. I saw like a doubling of my channel growth, or my subscriber count. I haven't had a whole bunch of inquiries. I'm still on the like emailing companies to see if they want to have a video produced, sort of thing. Hopefully in the future, we can keep growing the channel and we can get companies coming to me, which would be awesome.
So here's an open invitation for builders of all sorts, guitars, pedals, cables,
Amps.
pedal boards, amps, whatever. If you want it demoed, where can they talk to you, Eric?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. My handle is @Merrow Visuals. Also YouTube. I think if you just search Eric Merrow on YouTube, you'll find me. Also on Facebook, I share a lot of stuff on Facebook, especially with your guys' group.
Right.
That's also Merrow Visuals.
Right. So you can contact him directly and get your gear in his hands, and he'll make you a pretty sweet video, I would imagine. Right?
I'll try my hardest.
I guess in your dreams, what are your maybe top 5 pedals that you'd like to get your hands on this for the remainder of your year?
You sprung that one on me. I'm not sure. I don't know about 5 pedals, but I would definitely love to do videos for the more in-depth stuff, like the Strymon stuff or the Empress pedals. Those are really cool. I'd also love to get more Chase Bliss pedals because they're so like versatile, and it would just be it's another rabbit hole to dive down. A fun one
for sure. You're gonna have to do a lot of crawling around.
Lots of switches
and dip switches. Hang on, I gotta put the guitar down and get on the ground and switch the switch. Yeah, super. Obviously, those are top-notch pedals right there for reasons. Since you have so much exposure to these things, would you mind sharing like where you think pedals are going to be going, or what you'd like to see in them moving forward?
So at NAMM, I'm not sure exactly where everything's going, but what I did see was a lot of like all-in-one solutions. So like I saw a couple bass rigs, guitar rigs. So like you plug your guitar into a pedal. It has a preamp section. It has some modulation effects or like all sorts of effects. And then it has either a power amp out or like a DI out, something like that. Just something to where you can put it on your pedal board and then you don't necessarily need an amp. You can still have one if you want, but if you don't have one, you can still play the show essentially.
That's something I've got to get my head around a little bit. To be honest.
Yeah. I mean, coming from years and years of multi-effects pedals, there was always sort of a limitation in terms of what you could do with the effects, or it was almost like you can select these sounds, but that's the one thing that I've seen too, is that a lot of these multi-effects pedals, they have expanded the ability to choose different parameters and different things like that, and with the addition of direct recording out or preamp out or having an actual preamp built into it. I mean, it's to a point where you could almost play a show without an amp, which
that's crazy. That's what he just said.
Yeah.
I'm just reiterating. Furthermore,
I appreciate it.
there are some other pedals that I would like to.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, when I was playing in the 80s, that was always kind of like the dream that, well, wouldn't it be great if we could just show up and plug into this and go directly to the board? And
Right.
of course, back then there was really
Everybody
nothing.
went rack.
Yeah,
Rack
there was the
everything.
rack stuff, and then the pods came out, and,
Yeah.
all that fun stuff. I mean, are there any? How about some classic old school pedals and things like that? Are there things that you'd really like to get into to demo and kind of run through their paces?
Old school stuff. I'd love to do more videos for like amps, like vintage amps.
That
would be
great.
cool.
I think we would all appreciate that, especially coming off our recent episode. If you want to learn more about buying used vintage amps, check out our recent episode all about that. Used Amps 101. Back to you, Eric.
Can they listen to that for free?
Yeah. Exactly. Cool, man. Well, Tony was bringing up the vintage pedals. I would love to see more videos on old vintage pedals. Those are obviously harder to get. You're not going to get them from dealers, probably not going to get them from the makers. Those are just sort of ones that you have to get your hands on one way or another for the most part. But
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people doing those right now. There's a niche.
Yeah. Actually,
Niche.
Reverb has done a couple videos about like older pedals, not necessarily vintage pedals, but I love what Reverb's doing over
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Like they don't just stay to pedals.
Well, that's
or
smart because
amps.
that was a recent thing that they just started doing. That it makes a lot of sense. Also considering what the marketplace is doing right now.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, we are excited to see your progress. We hope the best and most progressive things for you in the future. Grow, young weed, and prosper.
When you can grasp the pebbleweed, Hopper.
So, wait a minute. He's not here.
I'm going to do it.
You're going to do it?
I'm doing it.
Are you sure? I'm going to edit that.
Would you rather?
That was very somber. That was
Dirgish.
dirgish. Yeah. All right. Well, that'll do. All right. Here we go. This week's Would You Rather? So you're walking down the street and a safe falls on your head and you're on your way to the guitar store and now you don't have any money.
And
I
no
don't know.
head.
So
We have
yeah.
no heads.
Here's the thing. All right, here's a would you rather. And it's interesting because you just started to touch on this just a little bit. All right.
Okay. If I don't like it, I'm going to go to my would you rather.
Nope. Would you rather have an all-in-one box such as a Line 6 Helix? All right. Multi-processor,
Okay, all in one.
all-in-one, right? Or and that's digital. All you can make and craft and do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or would you rather have an all-in-one single maker full line pedal box? Aha. Oh ho. Hee hee. So we've seen a couple pedal makers do this sort of just as like, I think, fun one-offs, but I think they're also everybody's kind of putting their toe in the water a little bit right now. with
So
that.
when you're saying almost like the old Boss system where how about the case and all the Boss pedals?
No, single box.
Single
It's a single box. So essentially what they're doing is, you'll see a pedal maker say, I make an overdrive, I make a distortion, I make a fuzz, I make a reverb, and I make a mod, I make a chorus. Okay. I sell all those in individual boxes. However, I'm going to make one big giant box and just put the guts in it.
Okay.
So it's essentially an analog Helix kind of a thing,
Yeah.
except you can't rearrange or tweak the actual controls themselves beyond what they already are.
Can you change the order of the pedals?
No, you can't. You can't do that.
They're
you can't do
hardwired.
that. Yeah, those are there. It's all hardwired. So what would you rather have from your favorite pedal builder?
Yes.
Okay, whoever that may be, or the Helix style. We'll just say style digital all-in-one box. Eric,
This is difficult. This is really difficult. Good one.
thank you.
Oh man, I haven't played with a Helix, so I don't have too much. I don't have too much experience with that type of powerful effects processor. I'd have to say the Helix just so I could try it. And it's got everything. Oh no, because if one thing goes, then everything goes if you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. I'm going to go with Helix. I'm going to go with Helix.
All right. Do the Helix. Tony?
I think I'm going to go with the analog solution.
Okay.
Even though you can't change the order of the pedals.
Yep.
Because they've already been optimized at the factory.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So, and, I think, sometimes having too many options in terms of, all the digital stuff. Talk about going down a rabbit hole. You can spend hours and days and months and weeks, maybe years,
Maybe.
just trying to figure out that, those settings and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going analog
Okay.
from a reputable builder.
Good. All right. I'm doing the same thing because I think that would be a completely awesome, unique, there's not going to be many of them. And if you like that builder, you're familiar with what they're doing. So to your point, especially in a gig situation, I know what everything's going to do, but more so that to me would be a much greater connection directly with that builder, which is something that I actually really appreciate with guitar gear is, and one of the great things about why there's so many great boutique builders is that you can get that closer connection with somebody who's building something that you really love. And so if I could have that all in one box, that would be pretty dang neato. And it would probably come with some sort of original artwork that was outstanding as well.
I think what would sell me is if the builder came out and pushed the buttons for me. That would be a great personal connection.
Right. Like it.
Have you guys seen the Jam Pedals Pink Flow? Because it's exactly what we're describing. Basically, they've put 6 different pedals in one enclosure, and they did that to emulate Pink Floyd sounds.
That's really cool. Now, we were just talking about there's been a couple companies just kind of putting their line of pedals in, but doing a line of pedals specifically for a specific sound, that's super cool. We just pulled it up on the internet box, and it that looks awesome. See, that confirms what we were saying, Tony.
I'll take that one.
You take that one.
I'm taking that one.
I'll borrow that one, and I'll stick with the one I'm doing. That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that.
That is really
so
neat.
That's called, for everybody out there, that's called the Pink Flow, FLO, by Jam Pedals, and it's white with some bricks on it and a couple characters. It looks really cool. I like that. That's kind of fun. I like to hear that. Well, I'll go home and hear that after the show or whatever. Tony.
What?
We have something to do.
We do?
You do.
I do?
Do it.
Oh, that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we like to do this time of the show is to thank our executive producers. And as Jared so eloquently usually says, one of the great incentives for becoming an executive producer is you get your name read on the thing.
Yeah, that's how you say it.
That's exactly how I say it.
Yeah, that's how we say it.
So without further ado, I am going to read the names on the thing.
Excellent.
So we would like to thank, and let's go from our newest to our oldest.
Sure.
Executive producers. And that would include Gary Goodman, Darren Gregory, Alex Leggett, Robert Marfleet, John Anglin, Chris Kearney, Sean S. Oliver Gonzalez, John Daly, Robin Smith, Derek Fitzer, Pete Marshall, Carlos Mancha, Matt Brammer, David Wolfson, Martin Cliff, and Tom Barazin.
Excelente.
If you, Todd,
Yes.
if you would like to become an executive producer,
How do I do that?
I would say the easiest way would be to go to patreon.com/the guitar knobs and find out all the details.
That's right. We have a $1 tier in which you're going to get a sticker / swaggy pack.
Swaggy pack.
Yeah, from a bunch of our previous guests. We've got a $5 tier where you're going to be able to get one of our brand new Barefoot Buttons orange guitar knobs button. I'll figure out a better way to put that on there. But anyways, that's what you're going to get, and that's super cool. And that at the $10 level, you get your name read on the thing, you get an executive producer, and you get one of the t-shirts and the previous 2 rewards as well. And then if you're like our good friend, Gary Goodman, who this show is dedicated to.
Thanks, Gary.
You get all that stuff and then some. So
yes. Wait till you see
much
your
appreciated.
swag pack.
Yeah. All right, Tony, where can people find you?
Yes. If they would like to more information on custom pick guards or just about anything else, you can go to pickguardian.com. Also on the various social media, that would be under Pick Guardian 1, the number 1, because some guy stole Pick Guardian.
Whatever. So if you want something cool, put a new face on your guitar.
Yeah.
Give him a holler.
Or you want to change out pickups, you want to do, whatever, different look.
Yeah.
We can do it.
Good. And then, Jared's not here, but hey, if you want some really killer pickups, I mean, for real, people, I got these in my guitars, and not because he's sitting right across from me or not today, but because genuinely they're really good pickups. Give Jared Brandon a call or shoot him an email. Go to his site at brandonwoundpickups.com. Eric, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. The handle is @MerrowVisuals. Same with Facebook. Facebook is @MerrowVisuals. And then YouTube. My YouTube channel is just Eric Merrow.
Awesome. Dude, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a pleasure to have you on. Keep making awesome videos for us so we can all learn more about the pedals that we want to buy and, helping to contribute to the growth of the guitar community.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you so much.
You bet. Tony, subscribe!
Yeah.
So you're walking down the street and the safe falls on your head.
You're going to your local store, your local guitar store.
You're going to your local guitar store, and then you end up at the show.
And you say, hey, where's my pedal board?
Yeah. Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.